Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today. It's now time for starts and sits for Week 14. This is a huge week. Last week of the regular season, we were just talking about playoff scenarios in some of our leagues. Hopefully your playoff scenario is a little bit more secure. You're looking at a bye. You're definitely in the playoffs. But if not, we're going to help you with the guys that you need to play and the ones to avoid. And let's start with the start of the week. And Taysom Hill. What a terrible player he was against Dallas last Thursday. But you know what? The fantasy points were fantastic. 24 fantasy points because he ran for over 100 yards. So who cares about the 4 interceptions? Let's cut those down, though. But he's playing the Jets. Jets have allowed 22 or more fantasy points in 6 of the last 8 quarterbacks that they faced, including his favorite player of all time, Gardner Minshew, last week. And we have enough of a sample size of Taysom Hill. He has 5 starts over the last 2 seasons, 23 or more fantasy points in 4 of them. So I think that kind of feels like the floor. But the ceiling might be 30-plus points. Could be a top 3 quarterback this week. Now, we don't have it ranked that way, but as you see, all of us have him as a number 1 quarterback. Dave, what's the concern about Taysom Hill?
Did you see the game last week, Jamie? Yes, he ran for 100 yards, but he didn't even complete half of his throws with 4 interceptions. He's lucky to be even ranked in my top 12. It's because he's taking on the Jets. If he were taking on a defense that was good, I wouldn't even have him ranked anywhere close to this. I do think he's got a shot at getting it back up to that 20 to 22-point range.
But he's not ever been a good NFL quarterback, but he's made 5 starts and he's been a great fantasy.
He's been a great rusher,
great fantasy quarterback,
sure.
No question. He's averaged 24 fantasy points per game across 5 starts, and now he's facing one of the worst defenses. I just don't care if he throws an accurate pass or if he looks like a quarterback. He's a great fantasy quarterback against a terrible defense.
Legs matter. Rushing matters. He's going to run. He's going to run through the Jets. Love the setup for him. Let's talk about some other starts for me. Love another running quarterback for this week. That's Cam Newton. The Falcons have allowed the 4th most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks. And the last time these 2 teams met, the swift, speedy Sam Darnold at 66 yards rushing. Cam Newton may go for 100 as well this week and hopefully connect with DJ Moore as well. Keith, let's talk about your starts for this week. And you have a couple of guys that are interesting here. I want to ask you about one in particular, Jarvis Landry, because last time we saw him against Baltimore, he was great. Showed up on the injury report again. We expect him to play. How great will he be again against the Marlon Humphrey-less Ravens secondary?
Well, I think that's the key. Last time these 2 teams played, they scored 10 points against a Baltimore defense that is exceptional against the run and really quite atrocious against the pass for most of this year. And that was with Marlon Humphrey. Now they don't have their best corner. I still think the Ravens are going to be very good against the run, and I still think they are more scared of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt than they are of Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry, so the opportunity should be fantastic for them.
Who's the best running back in this game? Is it Nick Chubb, is it Kareem Hunt, or is it the guy you have starting in Devontae Freeman?
I will say it's Nick Chubb, but I would start Devontae Freeman over Kareem Hunt, and I'm not certain that Chubb's going to be better than Freeman. Freeman has looked like a rejuvenated running back. He's moving like someone who's not the age that he is. It's hard to believe that it was just a couple months ago he was getting cut from the Saints because he just didn't have anything left. He's got something left now, and he's also getting targets from Lamar Jackson, so there's a decent passing volume there as well.
Yep, he's playing great and hopefully has another strong game against the Browns. Dave, let's talk about your starts here. And so Heath made sense of the Titans running backs from his standpoint, from the news standpoint, but you like Deontay Foreman the best of the bunch?
I think he's the number 2 fantasy running back and close to a low-end RB1 in non-PPR. I think he's just going to dominate the rushing downs, the short yardage goal line work, and he even had a role in the passing downs the last time we saw the Titans play. And I think he embodies what they want in a run game. Physical and tough. And this Jaguars defense, we've been saying for weeks now, well, Jacksonville's run defense really isn't that bad. Well, Cordero Patterson and Sony Michel chewed him up over the last 2
Jonathan
weeks.
Taylor, too.
Yeah, so Deontay Foreman is the guy that I think can have a chance to score and maybe get 50 or 60 yards on top of it.
Let's stay in the AFC South, and you think that Brandon Cooks bounces back this week?
I think Davis Mills being under center is better for him than Tyrod Taylor, and it took all season for us to get to this point because we used to laugh at the idea of Davis Mills throwing to Brandon Cooks. But in the 6 starts that Davis Mills had, Cooks had a 75.5% catch rate, 8.2 targets per game. That's both much higher. Well, the targets are close, but the completion rate is much higher from Mills to Cooks than it was with Tyrod to Cooks. And I think he's at least a safe high-end wide receiver 3, if not a low-end number 2 wide receiver in full PPR. I think he'll be able to get through with those receptions.
I hope